What's going on, Golferos? Welcome back to the Salud Golferos podcast. This is episode 27. We are at the beautiful Montebello Golf Course, right across the street from Top Golf. So want to give a big shout out to the staff here for having us. They got us out here right on the putting green. Big shout out to Angie, as always, a friend of the brand, who helps us set a lot of this up. So big shout out.
Love you, Angie. Thank you so much.
Angie. Thank you. And so today, guys, we're out here at Montebello with a wonderful guest of ours. One of our initiatives that we've been wanting to take this year is starting to highlight more women, more Latinas in the golf game. So today's guest is someone who's proving that golf isn't just a game, it's a vibe, and that it's never too late to learn. We have Stefani Taylor, aka La Mala Golfer. She's an HR professional by day, beginner golfer by night, and the visionary behind a new golf brand aimed at promoting diversity and inclusivity on the green, Luna and Sol Golf Company. With her Mexican and Filipino roots, Stefani is all about breaking barriers and supporting women and inclusivity in the golf space. She's here to talk about her golf journey and learning to golf, what inspired her to start Luna and Sol Golf Company. She's excited to play a small part in growing the game of golf, encouraging other women to pick up a golf club and give it a go. Welcome, Stefani.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Heck yeah, dude. I love the intro. So for folks that don't know, I have people pick out their intros. You know, I want people to feel as comfortable as possible on the pod. How do you want to be known? How do you want to be recognized? And you have the best intro so far. A+, above and beyond.
Dude, you got to memorize it, though, bro. You were reading the freaking cue cards, man. Come on.
Hey,
give a little love.
It was a long one. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything because there's a lot of good stuff in there. And so, really excited, Stefani, to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Heck yeah.
So thank you.
Of course. So I guess the way I want to kick things off, let's talk a little bit about your background. One of the things that kind of swayed me to your page where I was like, oh, I need to reach out to her and I need to talk to her is in your bio, you have in there Mexipina. So you have Mexican heritage and you have Filipino heritage. Why was that important to you to call that out on your bio?
I think for me, it's something that I'm very proud of, being Mexipino, Mexipina, Mexican Filipino. They're very rich cultures that I grew up with. And it's always something that I haven't really seen, or it's something that I haven't really seen a lot of in the golf space, a representation. That's definitely something quickly that I learned when I started playing golf, was just that there's not a lot of folks that look like me. It's definitely grown and gotten better, but and so I just want to shed light that I am of Mexican and Filipino descent, and that I want other folks to just have an example to look up to. No, please take that out.
No,
sorry.
You're good. No.
We're just vibing on it.
No, but I think it's just, it was something important to me just to showcase that I am of Mexican and Filipino culture, that I want to be able to promote it within those communities. I am a beginner golfer, but I think that's also the point of me just sharing my story and my journey to golf, because it's very new and it's very recent. But I'm just very proud to be Mexican and Filipino. And growing up, I just grew up in those cultures. I had my Mexican grandmother that was always cooking Mexican food and those Mexican traditions. But then I also grew up with the Filipino side with, say, my Lola, who was, cooking, Filipino food, and just very rich in those traditions as well. So it's just, again, I just wanted it to be promote that I'm Mexican and Filipino.
No, that's good. And right there, maybe you felt a little shyness saying no, take that out. But no, that's awesome. And you have every right to feel that you can be a representation to the cultures, because that's why I wanted to call that out, because I'm Mexican, and a lot of people don't recognize that right off the bat. They just see me and they're like, oh, you're Mexican, and it's like, oh, but I also have Filipino roots. So you've done your job. Like, that representation is there, and you have every right to be that symbol.
And I think for myself, like, a lot of people, they look at me and they're not sure what I am. They like that's kind of like a guessing game. When they look at me directly, they don't really know. Like, I always get Middle Eastern a lot, or just definitely just different cultures. But yeah, Mexican and Filipino. But then also, I think in the golf space, I see a lot of golf brands, and just a lot of people don't look like me in the ads, or even just reflected in the merchandise too. So that was just something that why I kind of wanted to just call out. Like, I'm Mexican and Filipino culture, that I'm very interested in learning this sport that maybe isn't so popular within our communities.
And that's changing.
And that if you have a small, interest in like learning, feel free to reach out to me. I think I'm very approachable, whether it's on social media or in person. But yeah, it's just another way to relate to people. So
no, that's awesome. That's great, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you can be that role model to maybe the little girl right now who's maybe with her dad in the car and listening to this, because that's really what we need to do, is we need to get that next generation in and grow the sport within our community. So for lack of whatever it is, it's not going to be the PGA Tour player that's going to get the little girl into golf. It's going to be someone like you, someone approachable and it looks like them. So no, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's something, even like my cousins, maybe in the last year or two, like just as soon as my golf journey started, I had cousins on my Filipino side that also wanted to get into golf as well. And now my niece is into it, and she just got onto the Milligan golf team. So she's only been golfing for about a year herself too. And then so she just tried out for the high school golf team and got into it. So I like to think that like I played like a small part of that, of like being the cool auntie that like...
You played a major part.
Yeah.
That's a canon event.
That like, oh, auntie's playing golf, I want to learn how to play golf too. But it's also something that we get to do as cousins together too. And so it's been a really fun experience learning how to play golf this past 2 years.
Heck yeah. No, that's awesome. And I mean, that's how Raul and I get to hang out more. It started off with just cousins hanging out on the golf course, and it's evolved into a brand. So
yeah, that's awesome.
So that's great. So let's talk about that. What kicked off your golf journey? So we were talking before the pod. You said you picked it out a couple years ago.
Yes.
What inspired that move into playing golf?
Yeah, so golf, I never grew up with it. Don't really have any good like examples of people that played golf growing up. So it's just something very new to me. But my husband, he kind of played a vital part. He's been playing golf for, let's say, 20 years. But I had no idea what golf really was. And then we've been vacationing a lot in like Palm Springs in the desert. And then just this one time, he's like, hey, just go with me and be a passenger princess in the golf cart. And it was probably July of 22, and we went to, I think it was like a Greg Norman golf course in La Quinta, and so it was like 100 and something degrees. So that's literally my first experience of golf, was like super duper hot, 4.5 hours, and I was like, how is this even fun? Like, it actually turned me off almost, because it was just so hot. But around that same time, one of my friends, Audrey, who now runs the Tropicana Girls Golf Club, she actually had invited me to a Babes Golf range meetup in Orange County. And so that's when I met Sally Tao, who was running the Orange County chapter. And it was a really inviting space to learn golf. So had I not found that community of women, that golf group, had it the timing, my friend Audrey not inviting me, I probably maybe would have not gotten the bug. But
shout out Audrey.
Yeah, Audrey. So shout out to Audrey. So yeah, the timing was perfect. Started going to this Babes golf event. At the same time, I think this is also a key part of my golf journey was that my friend Audrey was going to upgrade her clubs, and she sold me her Top Flight clubs for $100. You know,
you gotta start with the Top Flights, the Stratus.
So my husband was like not going to buy me like nice creme de la creme golf clubs. He was like, "You're going to buy used. You know, let's see if you even like this."
You got to pay your dues.
Exactly. So my first clubs were Top Flight clubs from Audrey that I used for about a year and a half, and so. Again, the investment was small. And that's the one thing is like golf it is an expensive sport, but it doesn't have to be. There's definitely ways to make it more affordable and more attainable to play. But yeah, so then have these clubs, you know, so struggling for over a year to play, but continuing to go to like these range meetups with Babes Golf, as well as exploring other golf clubs. So I'm also part of Four Gals, which is an amazing golf club as well.
Mm-hmm.
Where else? Latina Golfers Association. So they are doing amazing work too, and I'm very involved.
Shout out Latina Golfers, yeah.
Amazing.
Azucena doing amazing
things. Amazing things. Latina Golfers Association. I just went to an outing with the Tropicana girls. Next week, I'm going to be checking out Swing Sister Golf Society, which is Sally Tao's new golf club. So it's really just putting myself in these spaces to learn, to meet new women. And these are really comfortable spaces to learn golf. And so had I not found this, you know, if it was just my husband trying to teach me to golf, probably would be a very different experience. You know, he was getting very frustrated trying to teach me. So it's like I found my community to do it myself. And then now we enjoy it together when we travel, we get to golf. So I think those women's golf clubs were like a big part of my golf journey and a part of me getting better and a part of me being consistent. It's something that I was looking forward to, you know, whether it's on a weekly basis or monthly basis that I went to some of these events. You know, you go when you can. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it's just finding golf is a very intimidating sport to learn already. And then to be a female trying to learn to golf, again, very intimidating. So, you know, I think these women's golf clubs are super essential for us to learn and to grow and to get more women involved in the golf space. So.
Yeah.
So Stephanie, along those lines, you just mentioned a lot of great clubs, female-oriented clubs. You were lucky enough to have a friend that was part of a club, but look, chances are there's going to be some people that are going to be listening to this podcast in their car. Their wife might be riding on their side or their significant other. How would some of these young women that are trying to break into golf get a hold of some of these clubs that you're an amazing part of? Yeah,
I mean, I think trying to do like an Instagram search is like a big thing. There's also the SCGA website that also is a really great website to find clubs in your area. What I do tell people is every club offers something different, has a different vibe to it, you know, and you have to find what works with your schedule, your area. Not every golf club is in every city. And one thing I just want to point out about the golf clubs is it's not a competition. You know, I think that in recent months it's been a little bit competitive in that space, but I think there's something for everybody. You know, so just sign up to attend an event, give it a try, be brave and attend, because it is also what's it called? What's the word I'm looking for? Not overwhelming, but
intimidating.
Intimidating. Thank you. Intimidating to show up to an event by yourself. You know, I still, you know, a lot of my girlfriends in my personal life, they know that I golf, but still don't have an interest in learning to golf. So, you know, I am going to these things by myself. But once you get there and you meet other women that are also attending these events by themselves and looking for community too, or meeting new friends, having the same interest as you, it becomes a more like comfortable feeling to like sign up for and register for some of these range meetups or little golf clinics and things like that, or golf outings. But yeah, so.
Oh, that's amazing. I think you hit the nail right in the head when you're talking about each one of these clubs offer something a little bit different. So maybe there might be some players that haven't played in a while, but they still have their golf swing in there. There are some competitive clubs out there. So if you want to get back into the swing of things per se, there's going to be some clubs out there. If you just want to blow some steam at the range, which, I mean, guys, you see how many freaking days a week Ralph is at the range.
Oh, gosh.
A lot of it is he's blowing off some steam, but there are some clubs where it's more of a range meet. So it's great. It's a great introduction for somebody that's trying to get into. Look, if you want to see it as a sport, great. You see it as a sport. If you want to see it as a pastime, if you want to see it almost as a way to blow off steam, you guys have heard me on the podcast say this is almost therapeutic for me, or Hex as well. Find the club. You don't have to just go to one club and that's it. Check out a couple of different ones. Check out the different vibes. Check out some of the people you might get along with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a great call out. I want to shout out Los Compas. They're a big friend of the brand. Shout out Rudy and Patty. They're running a great club out there. On their end, they're called Los Compas, but they have what's called Comadres that's built into the club. So it's cool because they have some women out there too. So I would definitely recommend reaching out to them too. Check out their vibe. But Raul makes a great point, like make golf what you want it to be.
Absolutely.
Don't let it be the other way around. Don't let it try to dictate the way you think about the sport. Because maybe you do want to be competitive. Like for me, I love to scratch the competitive itch. And the great thing is that when you go out and you compete, you're competing against yourself. Yeah. You don't have to be the bad guy like, Raul, I'm going to kick your ass today. It's like, no. It's like,
it's always fun when you out drive the bike. I mean, there is, but I think there's a lot of camaraderie. Look, for anybody that has played around, think about like when your buddy, your family member hits a good shot, even though you really want to beat him at the end of the day, or like, hey, good shot, or like, hey, nice putt, whatever it might be. Even when somebody's having a bad shot, goes into the bunker, like, hey, nice out, nice scramble. There's a lot of camaraderie that goes even into the competitive nature of golf, and that's one of the beautiful things about this sport. Yeah, you can definitely be competitive. You can have a little, lo colmillo, if you will. But it doesn't get out of hand. I mean, well, I've seen some stuff that gets out of hand, but it's not the common thread.
Yeah, no, that's so true. So that actually leads to a good question. So for you, Stephanie, you're talking about finding a community, somewhere that you're comfortable. But what does golf mean to you, or what do you use golf for? Like, do you feel like it's therapeutic? Do you try to scratch a competitive itch? What is it for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, one, it was just a new hobby, something new that I feel like I needed in my life. At the time, I was also working remotely, so just something to get me, an activity to get me out of the house. That was like a big thing. But I think I just can't believe that it's become more than what it is, or in my life. Like even my husband would say, like, I can't believe you got into it as much as you have. I know we're going to go over the brand a little bit later, but just to the thought that I want to like start a golf brand. But one, it's been community. So again, connecting with other women, just in your 30s, it's a lot harder to make friends, I think, especially as a female. I don't have kids. So just my friends, we're all in different chapters of our lives. So through these golf communities, I've been able to make new friendships, which has been priceless. But even more than that, like, I've learned so much from playing golf. There's so many life skills that you learn from golf that unless you play, you really won't realize what these lessons are. But from this, just be doing a podcast, like I would have never done this a year ago had someone reached out to me and be like, oh, will you be on our podcast? Like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? But, I think golf, like, it teaches you to just talk to strangers. We haven't met, till this morning.
Just this morning, yeah.
With golf, you're signing up for tee times with people you may not know, and you play with them for 4.5, 5 hours. And so you can either make the most of it or you can make it really uncomfortable. But if you, are not, one to strike up a conversation with strangers, but same thing with going to these events, so just learning to open up a little bit to strangers. So, networking, they always say that golf, it teaches you, there's a lot of skills in golf that you can carry into like your business and into your career. Golf teaches you to be punctual. Golf tee times are very specific.
Well, that depends. You should see some of the people we golf with.
Running and gunning, as we say.
I guess so. But yes, my husband gets so frustrated with me if I'm taking too long to get ready or to get out of the car. But they're very like 6:27 or very, very specific tee times.
Yes.
What else has golf taught me? Let me look at my notes because I did make a list. I made a list because I want.
Love it. Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. Because I felt like this question was going to come up, and I wanted to make sure that I touched on all the things. even when you're having like a shitty game, you still finish, so despite like if it's a rough day, you still finish. And I think that's the biggest thing is that like not every day is going to be a good day, but you have an opportunity, or maybe it's a bad hole, you have another opportunity to redeem yourself the next one. Being mindful and courteous to others. I mean, there's a lot of things about like etiquette about golf that there is to learn. And I'm still a work in progress. There's so many rules to learn, but I'm learning.
Especially the unwritten ones.
Yeah, the last two items you brought up, though, I think, and look, for better or for worse, and I know this has been brought up in a couple of other pods, COVID was kind of like the big open the floodgates to a lot of people when it came to golf. But the last two items you talked about are sometimes overseen, especially with newer golfers. The golf etiquette, the golf courtesy. So for somebody that just got introduced into golfing, you understanding how important that is, that's massive to me. Because the other thing you mentioned there, like you're not always going to have a great golf game. Look, guys, for better or for worse, guys and gals, look, for us, it's almost a pastime. It's not really, you never know. But we're not trying to make it on tour or anything like that. You're going to have bad shots. You're going to shank them. You're going to hook them. You're going to slice them. It's that mental strength you got to develop. Where it's like, hey, shake it off. As soon as the shot is done with, shake it off, go to it. And I think what you just nailed is what sometimes people that have been golfing for a while get frustrated with newer golfers. Like, there's no golf etiquette, people tossing clubs, breaking clubs, those type of things. So it's awesome that you were able to recognize that being a golfer only for the last 2 years. So that's super impressive on your end. And
that's like also even just like a stressful thing as a new golfer too, is like you're trying to remember all these rules and you're trying to remember how to, hit a golf ball and swing. So that's what kind of creates stress as a new golfer. But so it's a balance of, the people that have been playing golf for a long time to be patient with the folks that are learning. Because I think also we've all started somewhere. I don't think anyone really is naturally good at golf. I mean, maybe with a small exception of people, but there is just so much to learn. So it is just being patient with people too. But as a new golfer, you pick up when you need to. Don't try to finish the hole. Spend 20 minutes trying to get your golf ball all the way across. So you pick up when
we know some people like that.
It's like you got to keep it moving for sure.
So Stephanie, along those lines, I mean, like it's awesome that you have that. I mean, that actually stuck out to me because it's something that I see so many. A little too often where we see people that are kind of learning the sport and they try to take it to an extreme they shouldn't be at. It's like, hey, start at the basics. Like people that are new playing from the tips. It's like, my guy, there's absolutely no reason for you playing for the tips.
No.
Like you guys see all the stuff that Ralph posts, and Ralph, how many times do we play from the tips?
Rarely.
I mean, once in a blue moon,
tips,
like we want to let her rip, but most of the time we're playing from the second or the third tier. That's it, from back, that is. And it doesn't matter. But what impressed me about it is you saying that, but do you think, or maybe you can tell us, how did you really pick up that etiquette? Where did you learn that? Was it your husband that kind of introduced you to these things? Was it the clubs? How did it become second nature for you?
Yeah, I think one is like my husband. He's like, okay, like I know you want to finish, but we have people behind us, So it was a little bit of him, and he's very big on me learning golf etiquette. Too, I think some of the women's clubs too, they also, okay, like if you're over double the par of the hole. Double par, then pick up. So just to keep things moving. But yeah, I think, again, you want golf to be fun, not overwhelming when you're learning. And like you talked about playing from the tips, you want to be challenged, but, we're also not trying to play in the PGA either. Or at least, I don't expect myself to be.
I'm making it on the Corn Ferry, okay?
Yeah. No, I mean, for me,
Senior
if
tour,
this
baby,
is
I'm
just
here.
something I imagine, yes, I'm just starting, but I imagine me playing this sport for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And I think too, the thing with the golf etiquette, it's going to help you love the sport more, because I've definitely seen people get burnt out because it's like, I got a 15 on this hole. It's like, why didn't you pick up a double par, reset mentally, and then just go on to the next hole?
And the worst part is it was a par 3.
Yeah.
Trust me, we've seen it.
We've seen it. It's like, we're all standing off the side of the green, just leaning on our putters, watching somebody struggle for a 15 on a par 3.
For sure. You know,
and I've been there, so I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, hey, like maybe we pick up and we move to the next one and figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, other things golf has taught me is patience. So, you know, again, for everybody involved, for everyone, whether it's patient with patience with, you know, the folks that you're playing with, the newbies that, you know, or just being patient with yourself. Focus. I tend to rush a lot, you know, so I'm like and some of that can be kind of stressed with like, oh, there's people behind me, I need to keep it moving. But it's like you can give yourself like 15 seconds to like properly like set yourself up and stuff.
Yeah.
Problem solving, you know, so figuring, you know, there's so much to ball positioning, and then what club are you going to use? And so, you know, that kind of that critical thinking of like, okay, I need this club to go this far to get it over here or to get it out of this rough, you know. So again, and all that comes with you continuing to play. Like the driving range is great, but once you're actually on the golf course,
it's a whole nother beast.
It's a whole nother beast for sure. And so that's when you really start learning how to play golf. You know, learning from your mistakes, you know, so maybe don't use that club next time because you overshot it, or, you know, so again, learning from your mistakes.
Put away your driver, guys. You don't always need to hit it.
You don't always need it, right?
How dare you tell me to put away the driver? There's a reason why it's the most expensive club in the bag.
Integrity and honesty. You know, we've seen some suspect scorecards out there.
Yeah, let's talk about them scrambles we've played from time to time.
Right?
Yeah.
Some suspicious scorecards out there for sure. And then, like I talked about, do not rush and be intentional with your actions, you know. So that's probably been the hardest thing to learn, is just, you know, not rushing and just to be intentional with your swing. Because sometimes I focus on to having fun versus like my score. And my husband, he wants me to get better and improving my score. And I'm like, I just want to have fun. I'll take a 10, like, you know, on a whole. Like, and
nothing wrong with that.
He's like, why are you getting these still? Like, I'm like, I don't know.
You're
My
here
putting
for a
is
good
the
time.
worst. Yeah. My putting is the worst. I'm definitely like a 3 to 5 putter. You'll see later. It's really bad.
We're right there with you. Well, hey, we'll have to play Snake today. We'll teach you how to play Snake.
Yeah,
I've never played.
It's a putting game.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's a great game for, especially when you're playing with people that might not be at the same level, and you don't want to give up strokes or get too complicated. For some people that don't have a handicap number, Snake is a great game. It's a great equalizer, as I like to say. I don't care if you can bomb it 350, 400 yards. When it comes to putting, it's a whole different beast. So maybe we'll throw a little something remind for some of our newer followers what Snake is all about and how it works out on the course.
Yeah, no, that'd be perfect.
Sounds good.
Awesome. No, well, these are all great lessons, Stephanie. Like, I think it's really great that that's what you take. Like Raul said, you had the presence of mind, and it sounds like you had the support to learn the etiquette of the course, and that's really great to have, and that's going to carry you so far in golf. Like, I really want people that are getting into the sport, is respect has to go two ways, right? Like for the more tenured golfers, like Raul said, and you've been saying, have patience. Have patience for the new golfer. Help along the way. Don't be confrontational.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one. And then also on the other side is like, guys, like you said, pick up your ball. If you're already at a 15 on a par 3, like it's time to move on to the next one.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
no, a lot of great lessons there. So I kind of want to dive back into the culture piece. So, as I told you, I'm Mexipino as well, but I'm a quarter Filipino. My dad is half. So I feel more inclined to my Mexican roots, and that's something that I've carried with me and that I'm very proud of. But I as of late, I'm like, man, I want to dive more into my Filipino side. Can you talk a little bit about that with yourself? Are you more inclined one way or the other, or how was it growing up with both heritages? Yeah,
so growing up with both heritages, I always thought equal. But it's so funny that you kind of bring up the leaning one way towards the other, because as an adult now, I remember people asking me that as a kid, and they're like, are you more Mexican or are you more Filipino? And as a kid, I'm like, I don't know.
Start diving into percentages.
Yeah, and then, you know, and then I felt like as a kid, people were when I would get that question, they're like making me like pick a favorite, like, oh, like what culture do you like, you know, and they're very cool cultures, you know, big in food and big in like celebrations and stuff like that. But I speak, and I don't want to pick a one way or the other, but I still consider myself 50-50 Mexican Filipino. But my Spanish is decent, you know. Sí hablo español, pero it's a little rusty sometimes. But I don't speak Tagalog, which I feel like is something I wish I learned. But I had to learn Spanish because my grandmother or my grandparents didn't speak English, so they would take care of me after school. So I had to learn Spanish in order to communicate with them. But my dad's parents, who are my Filipino grandparents, they spoke English at least well enough to where I didn't learn Tagalog, but I do know some words. But so I wouldn't say that I lean more one way than the other, but I feel like because I do speak Spanish, I love traveling to Mexico. I also, spend a lot of time with my mother, so I do feel like I'm more rich in like those Mexican traditions, but still also in my 30s, just like you said, very curious about like my Filipino culture and wanting to embrace that and learn more. And unfortunately, my grandparents are here, and I feel like I lost a lot of that because that's where a lot of the culture came from and those traditions came from, were from my grandparents. And now they're no longer with us, so it's like trying to learn that on your own. And my dad is around, and my aunts and uncles or my aunts are around, and so I learned from them my Filipino culture. But again, I still want to learn more. But yeah,
that's awesome.
I hope I answered that question.
No, yeah, that's really great. And honestly, I'm glad that you still have a connection to the culture, because like on my end, my grandfather passed away before I was even born. I don't really have anyone from the Filipino side of the family. So for me, it's just kind of growing up and then going to school with Filipino kids and just picking a little bit off of them, or like whatever my dad could pass along. Yeah. So I have no real connection to it aside from knowing that it's in my bloodline. Yeah. So no, that's really cool that you have that. And I mean, that should be a reminder to anyone. Talk to your parents, guys. Talk to your grandparents. Yeah. Learn more. I think that's the thing, is that as we get older, we start getting into this like reflective mode, I would say. And you're like, wait, what do I know about myself, about my culture and my past? So no, that's great. And the reason I asked the question is because once again, you have a great IG bio. On your IG bio, you put that you're neurodivergent, which by definition describes someone whose brain difference affects how their brain works. Why is that important to you? Like, does it derive from having both cultures, or where does that come from?
No, so clinically, like I've been diagnosed with like ADHD and like other like anxiety disorders, but and then also as an adult, like I feel like once I got that diagnosis, I feel like my world started to make sense. Like all the quirkiness about me, like, depending on the day, like I can seem very like normal and very like high functioning, but there's other days when it's like I am just so off. And so sometimes I guess I put that in my bio because sometimes I feel like I can go to an event and it might be an off day, and like one thing about me is sometimes I have a hard time like looking at people in the eyes and having like a conversation. I have a conversation, and it's like I don't mean to be rude, but it's just something about people looking and staring into me is just something I'm very like insecure about. But like there's just like weird quirks that I have that maybe people don't know what that comes from. So I just felt like if you think I'm a little weird, that's probably kind of why. Or if I feel like I'm not articulating myself correctly, it's because in my head, it's like I know what I want to say, but the words are not coming out the way I want them to. And so, but yeah, and I think it's, just a little bit, another way to represent just a small percentage of people. I guess we're all a little neurodivergent these days, though. With the world that we live in, everyone's a little anxious about something. It just goes back to just my way of thinking is a little bit different than everybody else. So, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, I love that. And that's so true. And like I said, anytime we do a podcast, there's always kind of like the pre-conversation. And Raul was even talking about, we kind of dove a little bit into it. And yeah, it's kind of this day and age where we're kind of like processing like 25 different things. And
like mental health is like a big conversation now today, and taking care of that. It's a very like stressful world that we live in, where there's so many things to worry about. And so I think that's where that conversation comes up, or like, people talk about going to therapy and stuff, and I always think that anyone can benefit from therapy, men, women. So it's really important. We've all gone through things. We all have our story. That's one thing I've learned is you just never know what other people are going through. And so I think it's, if you need help, get help. There's a lot of resources out there. But yeah, and so that's something just coming into my 30s, and like you said, a lot of that self-reflection. It was maybe like two years ago when I was like, something's off. Like I'm like really like struggling at work, struggling to get things done, struggling to take care of myself. And so that's when I started kind of looking for answers of like, why am I just so off? Like, to the outside, people can think I'm so normal, but then literally in my head, it's so clustered. Like, it's like, so, but yeah, so, just try to seek help if you feel a little off.
No, and even just talking about it, and it's funny you hit all those things because, again, in previous episodes, and for some of you that followed Los Golferos for a while, this is how Hector and I founded this brand. Hector and I were golfing for bro therapy. We joke around it. Yeah. Like, the concept for Los Golferos started with him and I just going out and golfing at 6 a.m. Me, him, and maybe some libations. There was always IPAs, but it turned out to like what was going on with work, what was going on with family, what was going on with us, and it was kind of a safe space. It was a golf course, an IPA, and two bros. Yep. And that's literally the foundation of Los Golferos.
That's awesome.
So look, therapy can look like a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But one of the biggest things I love that you said, sometimes you have to start within yourself and then be ready to let some of those inner thoughts be released to whether it's a therapist, your best friend, significant other, whoever you feel that comfort with. But it's very important. And it's something that, it's funny enough of your cultural background, the Philippines being conquested by the Spanish, Mexico being conquested by the Spanish, we have that mindset, very similar. For a lot of friends that are of the Filipino community, I mean, honestly, Filipinos are the Latinos of the Asian community and vice versa.
This is true.
Very similar cultures.
And it's a very similar mindset, especially when it comes to opening up about mental health.
Yep.
It's like, tough it up.
Tough it up, but, handle it like at home within your own, don't tell strangers about like your problems, so, therapy is definitely not something that is very common, but I think it's the conversation has changed a lot too over the years too, when you talk about like generational trauma and trying to break the cycle and stuff like that. So it
helps out with people like you and I don't want to sound like megalomaniac or anything, but like people like us who are willing to be open about this stuff and using social media platforms, using podcasting platforms to talk about it. And look, sometimes we get people that might be like, well, if those guys are able to talk about it in public, if that young lady is able to talk about it in public, all right, maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely value to us trying to break the chain that has been going on for generations in our cultures.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like you said, you talked about golf being therapy. It is a little bit of, there is something to being outside and, out in nature for a couple hours, and then
not all day.
Not all day. Okay, a couple hours all day.
The rounds are 9 hours. I swear they're 9 hours.
Did I just tell you guys?
No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, no, golf is super therapeutic. Being outside, connecting with your friends, being able to, like you said, talk to them, while you're golfing, just tell them about your life and what's going on. So definitely, like I said, there's just so much to golf, I've really just been enjoying the experience of learning, and it's been very enriching. That's the experience of golfing has been really enriching for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I think kind of continuing on the therapeutic side of golf is that I think sometimes people can get a little afraid of being kind of locked in a room with someone giving their life story. Like you would think like, oh, I'm in a safe private space, but that could be intimidating also because you're just in this close proximity with a person.
What are we going to talk about for 4.5 hours?
Exactly.
Or 8 hours, 9 hours.
8 hours. 8 hours.
8 hours. 8 hours. Yeah. But No, I think that's what golf can do. It can kind of expand that, because like after a while, you're like, there's just so much open space. It's like, okay, it helps you, just unwind, and then the conversations, and then the libations help. A little Bloody Mary in the morning, or a beer too, or 7.
Nothing wrong with the 6 a.m. IPA.
Nothing wrong. So tasty.
5
like
p.m.
coffee.
summer.
Yeah.
Well, Stephanie, I think the other thing you added was also the work environment that's changed. Like you said, we were talking a little bit about professional careers, and you were talking about you being a remote worker, and a lot of times we're stuck in our house now 24/7. Before you actually drove to your office, before you actually dealt with traffic. But look, let's be honest, at least for most of us that were commuting to an office, we would listen to the radio, we would listen to a podcast, hopefully Los Golferos, but you would be doing something that broke you from that environment. Now it's like, get up, take a shower, go do work. Oh man, it's past 5 o'clock. No, I got to finish this. I got to finish that. Next thing you know, it's like 7 o'clock, dinner, a little bit of chill time, to bed, rinse, repeat type of thing.
Yeah, then do it again the next day.
And the value of going to meet some of these clubs, or going out just to the range, or get a twilight, it's like we're out in nature again. And look, if you want to bust a John Daly, take off the shoes and walk barefoot on the course. Hopefully you're in a diesel hills. But, you talk about people trying to ground themselves. I mean, like, look, John Daly is a very interesting individual, but I was like, it's kind of nice. Walk around the golf course barefooted. If you're in a nice golf course, I mean, there's some moonies out there that are different beasts.
Get splinters on your feet or something.
Rocks and splinters.
But like, hey, if you get a shot to ground yourself and connect to nature, and golf is the way you can connect to it, why not?
Yeah, no, definitely. Awesome. So there's been kind of a little theme with this episode, Stephanie, and I don't know, it just, it's sticking out to me as we're talking. But so we talked about the two cultures, we talked about neurodivergent. Now I want to dive into your brand. So now we're talking brand to brand. You have Luna y Sol, so that's kind of, again, playing into the two themes there. What was the inspiration behind the name there?
Yeah, it's something that, I don't know, it came to me, and I don't know why it kept sticking. Like, I went through all these different names, but I think that there is some cultural significance to both Mexican and Filipino culture. Like, the sun and the moon are very big, of importance to both cultures. But I think there's so many ways that I kind of interpret that too, like this kind of yin and yang, sun and moon. But one, it's literally you're playing golf under the sun, under the moon, from sunrise to sunset. I wanted something in Spanish. I as well as, it's something that you can play when you're young, when you're old. So kind of that concept of, balance and opposites. And so that's kind of where the title came from and how it stuck. And I think it's just something that, again, going back to to young to old, it's like something like kind of that you can play for a very, very long time. It's something that I anticipate playing for a very long time, well into retirement. I'm only in 36 now, and so I have a long way to go with my golf journey. But yeah, so that's a little bit about the inspiration. I think the title is about balance, and that's where like the sun and the moon, they're polar opposites. But yeah, so that's kind of the inspiration behind the title. Yeah.
No, I love it. Yeah, like I said, I feel like the common theme with you is a lot of balance and a lot of, having the yin and yang, like you said. Yeah. So that's really awesome.
And I think a little bit of part of that too is I kind of have an eclectic personality where I can be like kind of polar opposites on the spectrum, like, hot and cold, or like very girly, but then very sporty. And like, so just kind of, that. Going back to balance and polar opposites.
And that's how golf can be. You can have a good day on the golf course, or you can have a bad day.
Exactly. And so it's just kind of a little bit of a nod to my personality too.
Okay.
And I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people. So I think I think it was a great branding move on your end, going with it in Spanish, but there's so much significance to that. So really kudos for that one.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And so, have you fully launched the brand? I've seen some pictures, but is it fully ready to go, or can people get merch?
It's not ready to go just yet. So I was actually talking to Roll. Sorry, I'm like so
Ralph
bad
and
at
roll,
it. Ralph
people.
and roll.
Yeah, it's all good.
And you know, I was telling him that. So like next month, I actually have signed up for some small business classes in that are for like Latina small businesses. So it's like all October long. So I hope to learn a lot about that. But he also encouraged me to like just go for it, start, you know, do the LLC. Don't wait, because that there's also a lot of benefits to doing that early. So there's some things like I need to get a website done that I'm working on. But so there's just some logistics. But in the meantime, I am designing and getting things like ready and manufactured and ready to go. I have been selling these hats that say Golf por Vida on them that have been really popular. But it's me and my husband, we have this joke that they're so exclusive that the only place you can find them is at my house. You know, so worldwide exclusive. And it's kind of funny because it's like you have to know someone that knows me in order to get one. But you know, it's actually been really cool to like people really resonate or love the hat. So this hat that I'm wearing today, it says Golf por Vida with the golf cart with like little hearts. So this is the girl's hat.
Okay.
But I wanted it also to be elevated too. Like, so this one has a ponytail back. So when I started this brand, sorry, my conversation's about to take a...
Go for it.
Go over
This
the
is your
place.
platform.
Yeah, no, but when I started this brand, I really was... Again, when I started golfing, I loved the golf... the apparel and stuff, like, you know, golf clothes. But again, I was very quick to notice that I didn't see a whole lot of myself in these brands. And then, you know, like we talked a little bit about diversity in golf, and that the golf game is growing, and, you know, just being becoming more diverse in terms of interest and getting more people of just different backgrounds to play. But then when it comes to the women, it's like, you know, so there's men of, you know, all these different cultures now curious to play golf, but then women, it's like even smaller than that. So I really didn't even see any like Latina owned or multicultural owned women's golf brands. And then so it just was on my mind for months and months. I was like, there's nothing out there. And so I was like, if somebody doesn't do it, or if I don't do it, someone else is going to do it, you know? And so that's kind of where and it was just like, Stefani, you have to do this. You have to do this. And so, again, my ADHD, like I can just start drawing and coming up with designs. And so like, literally that's what I was doing for months and months, was like coming up with all these really cool designs. I'm very witty, so all these like natural like puns were coming to me, like, and it started with me wanting to design things that I want to wear that I don't see. So I wanted something that said Golf por Vida on it. Didn't see it, I designed it, and then it started like, oh well, let me order a couple more because I think other people would want this too. So that's exactly what I did. So this, it's been a lot of lessons learned. Like I had this manufactured in China. So I was literally, messaging with China in the middle of the night to get these like manufactured.
Raul knows that struggle.
Well, you know what? It's funny from previous businesses. For some of you that have, again, following the pod for a while, one of the things we take pride in with this business is that we do everything local. And that was one of the things I learned in my previous business. Dealing with China is not the easiest thing to do. Like you said, you're like, all right, I got to wake up at 1 a.m. so I can get the rep from my manufacturer. And that's why with Los Golferos, we decided like, hey, you know what? Let's keep it in the States. Everything is North America. So the textiles we get from Mexico, manufacturing here in Southern California, and it saves a lot of headaches. Our hats, again, manufactured in Los Angeles, so we're kind of proud of that. But again, those lessons learned from starting a business.
And so that was like a lesson learned. And nothing went terribly wrong. There was one order of hats that I wasn't completely satisfied with. So again, lessons learned. But again, these hats have been really like the girls that have them have loved it. But so I wanted it to be just a regular baseball hat with like a cool logo on it. So that was like the intention behind adding the ponytail back, is just something a little different. When I kind of started this journey, I started looking for other brands. So I had done like a FaceTime call with the owner of Buena Gente. Like he just gave me some he gave me some really great advice. That was a couple months ago. I think it's Nelson from Tacos at the Turn. He also gave me some really great resources too. So this community has been really supportive. Like I don't really know what I'm doing, and I don't know where it's gonna go. And I know I've been like kind of dragging my feet, but even just being here is kind of like gonna hold me accountable. Like I said, I'm gonna do this, so I need to like run with it. But so just this golf community can be very small, and so it's been really nice just feeling the support. Like I've messaged people and they're like, hey, I'm starting this, like any advice. But yeah, so we'll see where this goes. I feel like I had other things to add to this, but yeah, again, just going to that, I wanted to design, there's specific things that I wanted to wear that I just didn't see. So that is, yeah. These are things that I like that other women will like. It is a little full circle for me because when one of my first jobs when I was in high school was Anchor Blue, which is
dang, that's a throwback.
Yes,
Anchor Blue.
Okay, dude, I'm older than you guys, so it was what was it? No, Miller's Outpost.
It was
I remember that.
Anchor Blue.
Yeah. So me and my cousins, a lot of us, we all started off. Well, they worked at Miller's Outpost, but I was the one that worked at Anchor Blue. But so that was one of my first jobs, and I was maybe like 15. But I thought I wanted to be like a fashion merchandiser, and so literally I went to business school, and I thought I was going to go back so I went to Pepperdine, so I'm a ways.
Hey,
I went to
Pepperdine.
school. I know, fancy. I went to Malibu.
Oh, that ugly campus
that
overseas.
ugly campus in Malibu.
Horrible campus.
I know.
Christ.
So I went to business admin school, and then I thought I was going to go to FITM to get like my fashion merchandising certificates. I've always loved clothes. And then even throughout college, I worked. So I worked at Anchor Blue. I worked at American Eagle. And then I worked as a merchandiser for like Zara and Forever 21, like all through like college. So I was one of those kids that had to work when you go to school in college. You know,
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
All three of us right here.
Yeah.
But then I realized I didn't really like that retail space. But so, kind of jokes on me that like now, 10, when did I graduate? I graduated 2011. So 13 years later, like now I'm kind of revisiting this little passion of mine, whether it's for clothes, whether it's for merchandising, just having an eye for things that girls like. Yeah. So here we
That's
are.
awesome. but it's a great, like you said, kind of full circle story, like your origins. But now it's like, hey, look, it's my own brand. It's my own vision. It's what I feel the community needs.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I've been checking out your hat as you've been describing and talking about the brand, and it's funny when you look at the golf industry. Like you said, you didn't see anything that matched your idea, so you went and did it yourself. So right off the bat, that's amazing. But two, these are things that, and I'll call us out, as men, we don't think about. A lot of these companies are run by men, and your hat. You said the ponytail hole right there, or for the ponytail to come
back.
Yeah.
Ponytail back. Sorry, we look at our hats. We have snapbacks, right? So I'm like, oh, you just put your ponytail through there, but no, you have a very unique design. It opens up and actually allows the ponytail to come in. And once again, as men, we don't think about that.
Of course.
And you're giving that representation to women. That's really awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that, I like I said, I didn't want it to be just a hat. I was like, I think we deserve something more than that. Something super functional. Like functionality is something always super important to me. So as I've been playing golf and like wearing different things, it's like also, it's like research and development. Like, okay, what do I feel like things are missing? And so, I as of right now, it's hats, and I think I'll do like shirts and maybe hoodies and stuff next. But who knows if I'm like gonna we'll see where this takes me, if it's gonna be full on apparel. But I'm excited to see where this journey takes me. But baby steps. Everything's in its infancy right now, but I feel like I have a lot of support. I've had some very eclectic ideas over the years, but this is the one that my husband is like, you need, this is a good idea. You need to run it, like full support. Like your other business ventures have been questionable, but
we're all guilty of that.
But I've always been kind of have that entrepreneurial mindset, or like we also talked about side hustles earlier. Like I've always had side hustles. So like the other thing I do on the side is we talked about being in HR and recruiting. I do resume writing on the side. So if you need your resume redone, reach out to me, But yeah, so it's like always just, aside from your 9 to 5 is having that other stream of income to,
Well, look, it's a great mindset to have, because you mentioned earlier, for a lot of us have gotten into golf and become passionate about it. We picture ourselves with that golf retirement. So, I mean, that's that's the goal for me. I mean, I've never hit that from my wife. It's like, babe, as soon as we get to where we need to be, we're out of here. We're going to Lisbon, and I'm living in a golf course community. That's it.
The dream.
That is the dream. So whatever you need to do, and I think the creativity comes in super handy. And look, and having the positive support. We didn't get your husband's name, but shout out to Stephanie's husband.
His name's Jason.
Shout out to Jason for having somebody that supports you. And I think that's one of the big things. If you talk to some of the brands that you've mentioned before, whether it's Nelson with Aguas of the Turn or John, great support. But if you talk to Nelson, he's also gotten support from his significant other. Ralph, a lot of you guys hit us up on the Instagram like, dude, does Ralph even work outside of golf? He has great support from Lisa, his beautiful wife. It's one of those things. It's like the people around you that support you and they're going to encourage these type of ideas is a wonderful thing. You get it external as well with some of these little micro golf communities that we're helping to try to build. Adds immense value to anybody who's trying to do something here. So it's great to have that support all over you.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. It's just like, like Raul said, you have to have the support, and like, you know, we're all married, and you know, having the side hustle, having the business, it requires a lot of work. You know, kind of like we were talking about before when we were talking about like high risk, high reward, right? Like you're gonna have to put in that sweat equity, as we like to say, and who's going to, you know, take some of that risk with you? Your significant other. You know, I get the messages all the time, like, hey, do you ever work? And like stuff like that. It's like, I work, get my stuff done, responsible employee, and then straight to the golf course. Because I do all the content, you know, I set up the podcast, I do all of the social media and stuff like that. And I get big thank you to my wife. My wife, she could give me hassle and say like, hey, like we haven't done anything like just us in like weeks, but she's like, nope, you're out there hustling, doing your thing. And so just big shout out to your husband for you know, supporting you in that aspect, saying like, yep, this is the one, run with it. So that you're gonna realize down the line, like, dang, that was the moment, and it's like that you're gonna look back and you're gonna really appreciate that. So
thank you. He's been great and very encouraging on this journey too. Again, I think he's just so surprised didn't think golf was going to become what it has become for me. Like, he didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I have. Like, I think he just thought he was going to buy a pair of golf clubs for me and it's going to, you know, sit in the garage, you know, take it out every now and then. But, you know, the fact that I've been really like so interested in it, and, you know, even with the brand itself, I think I was so hesitant to like say like I want to do this because I'm still beginning, like I'm still learning golf. So it's like, who am I to like want to start a brand? And I like kind of stink at golf still, but you know, and I think that's, you know, a point, you know, part of the journey is, you know, just inspiring other people to be curious and other women to want to learn to golf. You know, we all start somewhere. And so I think that's, you know, that's also why I wanted to create this brand and create it now. You know, what am I waiting for till I'm like really good? Like, is that ever going to happen? I don't know, but
we all have a dream.
you know, but like, you know, so the time is now, and you know, and so I hope other women are inspired to play the sport or just be curious. You know, go out on the golf course with your husband if he lets you, and you should. If you are a husband, let your wife go or come with you just to experience it. But and even just the name La Mala Golfer, my Instagram handle, you know, I was hesitant to create an Instagram account because one, Instagram is just a weird place for females. So that's
a whole different conversation.
To have a public Instagram page. Luckily, I've been one, like in terms of like hate or anything, I haven't really experienced anything like that. So that's been cool. And two, it is just a weird place. You get these weird like spam Insta DMs. So anyways, but
the hidden chats that we have.
It's just like, what is this? It is so weird. But so it's like a weird place. But you know, La Mala Golfer, you know, it is what it is. I'm a bad golfer, you know. So you know, so just kind of owning that. But then when I had created it, I got so many messages like, that is so clever. Like, I can't believe I didn't think of that handle. And so it stuck. And even my husband's like, how do you come up with this stuff? Like, it was there. It wasn't taken. But yeah, so La Mala Golfer.
It's awesome.
You had something, Raul?
No. One of the things that I love about what you just mentioned, Stephanie, is your ethos towards your brand and how it connects to your golf game. And one of the reasons that resonates with me so much is because, and we chatted a little bit about this prior to us starting the pod. 2020, COVID kind of opened up golf for a lot of folks that never really thought they were going to be golfing, but it also created, for better or for worse, a cash grab. And there's some brands that started up in 2020 that are actually no longer even here anymore because they were just trying to make a quick buck on people getting into golf. And the way you kind of saw it, where it's like, oh, do I want to be that type of brand? Do I have enough to be in the golf? For you to even think about that kind of talks a lot about your personal character and your business character. So that was really refreshing for me to hear. And we've come across some great brands, and some of them you even mentioned, like John and Buena Gente, where it's not a cash grab. This is part of who we are to a certain extent. I mean, we're not 100% golfers, but golf is a big piece of who we are now. So that was really refreshing to hear, especially from somebody who is so new to the game. And you're like, okay, yeah, should I be in this space? But I think you're doing it for all the right reasons. So that was really refreshing to hear, Stephanie. Props to you for that.
Thank you. And I think in this space, there's a lot of room for everybody. I think there's a lot of, it's, again, this space is so big. Everyone offers something different. When it comes to brand, it's like going back to, it's not a competition. It's everyone offers something different. Your style might not be for everybody else. One thing for myself, at least the first piece that I made, Golf Por Vida, I knew I wanted it to be in Spanish. But I also know Golf Por Vida, kind of, whether you speak Spanish or not, you know what that means. And so it's just something that could also just speak to other people, or even if you're, don't speak Spanish, but that would want the hat too. But so, being very thoughtful, and I put a lot of thought into everything. Again, going back to I don't know if I have any skin in the game here, but let's go with this. But so I feel like sometimes I do struggle with that imposter syndrome of what am I doing? But it's just trying to overcome it and not let those voices, get in your head. And that's where the support comes in. And so, yeah.
For sure. No, I think the imposter syndrome is so common in both of the cultures you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's without a doubt. And it's something we need to get out of our heads. It's like, we're not trying to ask for a handout type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, we're here to make ours, and if you're good with it, you're good with it. If you're not, well, you know what? The infamous, you haven't made it until you have a couple haters. So it's okay.
Yeah, and then one thing is and maybe this is also a cultural thing too. I'm always scared to ask for help, and so that is a big thing too. So it's I'm kind of shouldering this on my own, and it's maybe if I let people in to kind of help me with things, they would, but I'm just so protective of what I'm doing. And
I'm gonna tell you right now, if you have any questions, you need any help, Los Golferos are here. So please ask. We're not perfect. We've made our mistakes, and hopefully we can pass that knowledge on, and you can learn from our mistakes.
Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely appreciate it. And it's everyone's been so willing. And again, I think it's just to accept help is also really something I struggle with. But yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been dealing with generations of gatekeeping. And the last thing we need to do is gatekeep within our own cultures and gatekeep within our own environment. It's why do we want to do that? It's to your point, there's plenty of room in this space. This is a space that has been overseen by every major brand. Something we just got from Hercules when we were talking about the Latino culture when it comes in golf. Look, there's been amazing Latino golfers, from Chichi Rodriguez, Lee Trevino, even in the women's space. Think about it. I know for a lot of men may not necessarily follow the LPGA, but one of the greatest LPGA golfers, Lorena Ochoa, from Mexico, a lot of people are like, who the heck is that? She's one of the greats.
Yep.
She is a Hall of Famer, and companies could have. I know it was the early 2000s. They could have really marketed that towards young Latinas. When you were in college, this could have been somebody that you're like, oh, wow, there's a Mexican balling out in the LPGA, but it's almost a misnomer.
Yeah.
So it's like, guys, gals, who you're starting your brand, reach out to other brands.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the reasons why I love Nelson so much. With Tacos at the Churn, a lot of people are like, well, what does Nelson do? Nelson's a networker. He connects so many freaking people.
Definition of a networker.
Yeah, and he's done some great jobs. And then we've met some great people along the way, whether it's the boys, Dom and Derek over at Safe Park, John at Buena Gente, the boys over at Vatos Golf, Machete, all those guys. Boys over at Raza, great guys over at Los Compas and Las Comadres.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go around, and there's a lot of us that need to just open up the gates for other small businesses to know that there's some help for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think and kind of going back to what you're talking about with Hercules, like he made a great point. Like the community is growing, and you know, these big companies that aren't necessarily marketing to us, we're coming.
Yeah.
We're knocking on the door, and like we should be knocking on the door. We should be asking for help, or we should be asking that they're appealing to us. So, no, yeah, it's a great time to join the space, especially as far as the Latino community. So, really excited to see what you do. So, as soon as you get some stuff, let us know. We'll help you out. Because it's wonderful to see it growing. So
awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, it's been a wonderful conversation, but guys, we have a tea time that we need to get to. I have one more question for you. It's a quick one, hopefully. I like to put people on the spot with this one, but we have a running playlist that we create with all of our guests. And if you had one song to put on a golf playlist, what would it be?
Oh, man.
Let her think about that. If you are on Spotify, go follow it. Name of the playlist?
It's Los Golferos y Guests. It's on Spotify. Go follow it. We'll put a link here. I'll tag it as well on some stories.
Oh, no.
That should have bought you a couple seconds.
Oh, my God, no. I don't even know. I like have like such an eclectic taste of music, and I'm actually...
Oh, you need to see the playlist.
The playlist is all over. Yeah, I love it.
I'm actually one of those people that actually likes it quiet when golfing,
Okay.
like not playing
respect.
golf. Let me see, like what am I listening to right now? So I'm really into an artist, Thames, T-E-M-S. She's like a Nigerian, so it's like Afrobeats type music.
Nice.
But so
Okay.
maybe something from her, but I don't really have a song specifically. But if you want to add that to your playlist,
We'll put her on the
to
playlist.
pick
Yeah.
something. She's like she's like featured with like a lot of artists, but she has like her own album out now. But
Heck yeah. Cool. No, I like it. I like it.
So-
We have I curate it so it starts high, starts coming down. We get some mellow beats in there, and then we wrap it up with some more of the softer stuff in there.
Yeah.
So we'll find a spot for
Yeah,
it.
and don't get me wrong, I love to listen to music like when golfing, but I feel like sometimes it can get distracted. Like even at the driving range, I know some people like to wear the AirPods.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me or if I have what's it called, vertigo, but I feel like it throws my balance off when I'm listening to music on the driving range. But yeah, so I think it just depends on the day. Like if it's like just girls having fun, then music. I like that I get on, so like that's also a lot of fun too.
That's a good call out, and it's funny you bring that up because I was just recently seeing a study. Funny enough, it was a golf study, and using auditory instruments at the driving range, and this is a funny thing. And we talked about how our brains are handling all these different things. It is a negative impact at the driving range to be wearing headphones.
It's too
Really?
much. Like it's way too much for me. Like it's like I'm listening, but then I'm trying to like.
Well, the
I don't
You start
know.
like
It's too
dancing
much-
a little bit in
It's
the
too
middle of your
much. Yeah,
swing.
it's like too much for me to process.
I'll try to find the link to the article and maybe we can post it on this. But there is now scientific background. If you're going to go for grins and giggles, you're just going to go smash balls, go for it. But if you're actually trying to practice, to get your routine down, get rid of the headphones. You're not able to immerse yourself into it. And they said one of them, believe it or not, was the sound of the ball hitting your club face. How you're actually flushing the ball.
Yeah.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. Yeah.
So look, you're trying to get better at your golf game and you're going out to the range, ditch the AirPods, ditch the headphones, and try it out. But I am a headphone at the range and I was like, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I did kind of notice to your point, Ralph, having the tempo, if you are trying to smash ball, put something a little bit more upbeat.
Yeah.
With the driver comes in handy. But then I don't know how much of it is going to be retained for your real golf game.
Yeah.
So
no, that's so crazy that you bring that up because I actually went to the range one day and I had my headphones in and I took them out because I couldn't hear the smash.
Yeah.
I was like, am I hearing it? Like it feels good, but like
you don't
something's
know.
off. Yeah. So that's crazy. So yeah, dude, let's post that. That's
let
gonna
me
be
find
cool.
the link, and we'll try to post it in there. That's so interesting that you brought that up, Stephanie, because look, and there's different vibes. There's times where you're just gonna go de-stress. Yeah, listen to some music, good vibes, and just go there. But if you are trying to get better at your golf game, let your brain do what it has to do, and that's focus on that, and that's it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, on that note, we need to go smash some balls on this golf course. So just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Stephanie, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
on
for
the
having me.
podcast.
This was
Pleasure
fun.
having you on, Stephanie.
This is a lot of fun. So, guys, please go follow La Mala Golfer on Instagram. She's got her brand coming out, Luna y Sol. And then as a big thank you to you guys for following and listening to this podcast. We mentioned on the last episode, but we do have a code for you guys. It's Salud Pod. Go to our website. It's site-wide. 10% off on us, guys. Get yourself some Golferos merch. Once again, it's a big thank you to you all.
And for all of those that are on YouTube, you might be seeing something that Ralph has on his head that's not on the website. Stay tuned. New drop, fall season, fall colorway dropping. And yes, you can use the discount code on the new merch that is about to drop.
Yep, 100%, guys. This thing's freaking fresh,
Dude,
and I
but
love
before
it.
we wrap it up, one more shout out to Angie and the great staff over at the Montebello Country Club and Top Golf. Stay tuned on Instagram. A couple of pics and videos that are going to be coming from our little day trip out here. But Angie, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Angie.
you, Angie.
It's amazing. And Top Golf.
And Top Golf, yeah.
We're gonna post some stuff. Well, apparently we're getting a little behind the scenes. Let's
Yeah, we're
tease
going to
that
get a
one little
tour. So, yeah, Angie is always taking care of us. We didn't ask for it. And she was like, you guys want a tour? And I was like, what? Okay, yeah, let's do it.
bit. So anybody in the greater LA area, I know we now have 2 Top Golfs. We have the El Segundo Top Golf, but look, you want to get the brand spanking, shiny new, still under development, check out the one in Montebello. So far, it's been an awesome experience out here. Really great property.
Heck yeah. Right on, guys. Well, once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. And as always, salud, Golferos.
Salud, golferos.